Well, thank you very much for inviting me. I hope you don't change your mind after 10 minutes. I agree with Mike here, the other Mike, that this is a debate about semantics. To me, new Cold War is a trick. It's a Chinese term. Whenever we or other countries too try to bring pressure on China of any kind, this is what they say. 你搞这个冷战的思维. You are screwing around with Cold War mentality. Cold War mentality to the Chinese is anybody who puts pressure on them. It's that simple. Both Anastasia and Anna said, I think correctly, China thinks the Cold War by the West began a long time ago. There are different years. One military film I love called Silent Contest in 2013 said the West is even using rock and roll music to overthrow the Chinese Communist Party. You know who they say was the first real Cold Warrior against China? Abraham Lincoln. So they would laugh at us having a debate here whether we should start a new Cold War. Hey, it's 150 years of containment by you Westerners. So to me, and by the way, I'm a Cold Warrior. You can get a medal for being in the Cold War. I actually got it. I was head of policy planning in the Pentagon in the middle of the Cold War under President Reagan. And what that really means is Chinese, what shall we say? They like the word ba. Chinese domination of technology innovation, human rights issues, global governance, the redefinition of the values of the West, religious oppression, a rather long list that I think both sides agree on Chinese misconduct. The issue is what to do about it. But new Cold War with a little bit more pressure. Why is that important? And Anna mentioned this. Chinese Communist Party next year celebrates its 100th anniversary. I don't plan to go, maybe some of you do. If you're a Communist Party member in China, there's 92 million of them, by the way, you've got to learn the history of the party. The history of the Communist Party of China is a struggle between reformers and hardliners. They often kill each other at the very top. President of China kills vice president of China. House arrest for the Communist Party leader at the time of Tiananmen. House arrest for the rest of his life. So without using the word new Cold War, which is very provocative, it's insulting. By the way, in the old bad Soviet American Cold War, no American leader ever said to a Russian, we're in a Cold War with you. We had détente, we had summits, we had arms control agreements, we had some limited trade, but it wasn't the end of the world to have strategic tension and rivalry. So what President Trump's been trying to do, he's increased the amount of military exchange programs between us and the Chinese. Is that a bad thing? Is that a new Cold War? The Chinese say it is. They see these American officers are going to interact with our officers and turn them against the Communist Party. Our embassy in Beijing, largest staff in the world, 2,300 people, officials working on China. 50 US government agencies are in China now, each one helping some counterpart in China. Is this a new Cold War? The Chinese say yes. These programs are designed to subvert us. So to me, new Cold War means we increase these programs. President Trump has a phone call once a month, at least, with his friend Xi Jinping, up to an hour. There was this kind of dialogue also in the Cold War. Reagan wrote letters to Brezhnev, and you know what happened? He answered them. So the end of the old bad Cold War was what? The reformers in Russia took control. Gorbachev, and then even better, Yeltsin, won and changed that whole system. They even put the Soviet Communist Party on trial in Moscow. For China, our help from the outside, without calling it a new Cold War, will help the reformers in China win. And that's the kind of China we want. President Trump wrote about this in a book several years ago, and I'll close with this. He called it, there's a good China and a bad China. And we want the good China.